Lum Bam Fu is a panda who loves gambling, as most pandas do. He's a good-natured jokester, and he just wants some exciting, mildly annoying things to happen. It's hard to classify Lum's gameplay, being the wild card that he is, but he basically wants some breathing room in order to set up a bunch of chaos that he hopes ends up going his way. Lum's C button, Item Toss, is the heart of his character. He throws one of several random items, and you can't control which one you get. Fireworks is the best item. Lum throws a rocket into the air, and then a few seconds later, fireworks rain down. These fireworks cannot hit Lum, only the opponent, so it gives Lum a chance to go on the offense while the opponent is probably forced to block. You only get fireworks a small percentage of the time though. Throw as many items as possible to maximize your chances, and then improvise to do your best with whatever you get. His coin, from the card game Pandante, is good anti-air. The bomb can hit both characters, so be careful. The cloud, which is inspired by Graves' moves, strikes lightning below. It even automatically strikes if an opponent is underneath. The cherries restore 1 hit point, but either player can pick them up. The cake gives plus 50% super meter, but any player can pick that up too. The miniature version of Lum crawls along the ground slowly and is actually pretty annoying to deal with. Also, while he's crawling, he no longer counts towards Lum's one at a time limit of items, so you can throw another item, maybe even another Mini Lum. Mini Rook is a very rare item. He's kind of like Mini Lum, except he has 3 hit points. So when he hits the opponent, or if the opponent hits him, he keeps going until he's down to 0 hit points. Speaking of items, Lum's ground super is slots of items. He operates a slot machine that spews out 4 random items. Lum can throw an item with the C button and then immediately super for a total of 5 items. It causes a lot of chaos. If you happen to get a cake or 2, you can even immediately use the slot machine again. The slot machine itself can hit the opponent, so you can use it as a sort of reversal attack. The first frame they can hit on, Lum is vulnerable though, so if you're in a bad spot, it might trade, and it won't spit out any items if it does, but it is Lum's only good defensive option in a tight spot. Lum's normal moves are generally big because he's a big panda. His back plus A knocks down, his forward plus A reaches a little bit farther, his neutral A is great anti-air and it's pretty fast, his jumping A is good for cross-ups and good for jump-in combos. Lum's B is a rolling attack. This helps him get around the playfield quickly and is especially good for picking up any cherries or cakes that he tosses out. His Air B, Polar Cartwheel, is an unusual move. Lum is totally vulnerable and cannot even hit the opponent as he dives down, lands on the trampoline, and starts to jump off. After this long startup period though, he cartwheels in the air with amazing hitboxes and priority. It's also completely safe and he can combo after it. Lum is especially well suited to have a move like this because he can do the move when items are keeping the opponent too busy to hit him out of his startup. His Air C is a projectile, and although it's slow, that can actually be useful because it gives him more hang time. This helps him avoid the blast from his own bombs. Lum's Air Super, Roll the Dice, summons 3 huge dice that he can then bounce around the playfield. Different attacks cause the dice to fly in different directions. His rolling attack is especially useful to knock all the dice at once, often in an attempt to deal block damage. He can also save them for combos, or bounce them around one at a time to make it hard for the opponent to attack him. Lum's weakness is that he doesn't have a great reversal, meaning a fast attack to get him out of trouble. And he needs a bit of time to get his item craziness going, but if the opponent fails to pressure him enough, he can create some crazy situations that make him feel incredibly powerful. To play Lum, you have to really improvise, develop your item sense, and take advantage of whatever happens, and a lot can happen. So roll the dice, play the slots, and make the gambling pandas proud. Cyrus Quince is the Chief Magistrate of Flagstone. He's a charismatic, duly elected leader who has only the best interests of the people in mind. There are those, such as the lawyer DeGray, who say that Quince's reputation is built entirely on lies and illusions, but they're just dissidents and criminals. Quince is a tricky, deceptive character. He uses mix-ups so the opponent doesn't know how to block, and illusions so they don't know what to attack. Though he may seem slightly weak when the opponent is wise to his illusions, his power level skyrockets for brief moments when he can make his illusions real. He requires a lot of knowledge to play well. Quince's B special is High Standard, a forward lunging kick. Afterwards, an illusion of Quince automatically appears above the opponent and dashes downward to do his Low Standard. The illusion can't hit or be hit though, it's just for confusion. But if you press the B button twice, then the real Quince performs the High Standard, then Low Standard, and the illusion becomes the Quince that stood still between those moves. Low Standard is a cross-up, so the opponent will have to block it the other way, but they aren't sure which Quince is real, so if they try to block Low Standard, they might end up walking into your attack or throw. Quince's Neutral A is a simple punch, but a very important one. It's his fastest hitting ground move, and it can combo into his B attack. Also, if he does BB and the Low Standard cross-up hits, he can then combo that to A and then B for 3 damage while keeping the opponent in his mix-up blender. His back A normal attack is Truth Geyser, a ground pound that erupts a fountain of coins because money is the ultimate truth. This move launches on hit, allowing for a juggle. It's easy to juggle with his forward A lunging punch. The sequence back A, forward A, cancel to B will deal 2 damage and cause the B to hit very meaty. That's an unfortunate fighting game term, meaning that the very end of the attack will touch them, and it makes you especially safe afterwards. His forward A is also notable in that you can hold the button down to send out an illusion to fool the opponent. They might try to react to it, but the real Quince is waiting to punish. It's fast, so it's low risk to throw out that illusion here and there. Quince's C special move, Dodge the Question, can get him out of trouble. He's invulnerable from the very first frame of this attack as he splits into 2 images. This lets him slip out of sticky situations as the expert politician he is. You control which Quince is the real one by holding left or right. After the split, he will automatically perform his Righteous Zeal attack, and so will the illusion of him. If the opponent expects this move, they can punish it, but it can be pretty confusing which is which. Quince's jumping attacks are a punch, his B button Positive Spin, and his C button mirror called Alternative Facts. There's a lot going on with his Positive Spin move. It's generally unsafe, but there's a lot he can do with it. First, he can hold down the button to make an illusion of it. The real Quince will continue his jump arc when you do this, so you can create a positive spin illusion, then come down with a real punch. Next, after doing either a real or illusion version of this move, he can do another action in the air. So he can do Air B twice in a row, or an illusion B and then a real B, or a real B and then an illusion B. That sequence is especially useful because it leaves him safe afterwards. His Air C mirror can hit the opponent for 0 damage, which is still useful because it puts them in hit stun and generally gets in their way. It can also reflect projectiles. That's pretty useful, but you can also put it over their head anytime you get a chance, then start pressuring. Another use of the mirror is placing it after doing Air B, just to get it in their way. You can even set up tricky situations like knocking them down with Air B, placing the mirror behind them, and then threaten with a lunge punch. If it hits, the mirror's hit stun allows you to combo a punch into B for 3 damage. You can also just stay back, place a mirror, and do some illusion Air B moves just to give the opponent the opportunity to react in a stupid way. Quince's ground super, Patriot Mirror, gives him access to a huge amount of power if he can pull it off. The mirror itself can reflect projectiles, and while it doesn't do any damage, if it hits, it then triggers a time-limited mode called 2 Truths. A blue meter counts down, showing how much time you have left in this mode. In the mode, all his illusions are real. That means they can actually hit the opponent. If the opponent hits an illusion, it will go away, but the true Quince won't take any damage. During 2 Truths, your lunge punch becomes a rapid-fire lockdown. It will only combo twice, but it's still pretty good. His Air B becomes a huge, slow-moving projectile that he can do twice each jump. And pressing ground B once for high standard gives you the benefit of a real illusion low standard without the true Quince having to spend time in that animation. That lets him do some powerful combos, mix-ups, and lockdowns. Another note about Patriot Mirror: even if they block it, the mirror won't go away until they block it 3 times. That gives you a chance to mix them up with BB while they're stuck blocking. Quince's Air Super, Consent of the Governed, is a full-screen flying punch. Regardless of if it hits or not, 2 illusionary Quinces appear to fight alongside you. They do random moves and create a lot of confusion. Consent of the Governed is invulnerable at the start, which ensures you'll win any air-to-air battles. This is especially important after your B special, High Standard. That puts opponents in a mix-up where they don't know if you'll attack or throw from the front, or cross up from behind, and they might try to jump out to avoid that mix-up. If they do, you can beat their jump with your invulnerable Air Super. You can even use the Air Super as a way to get in safely and start your mix-ups, since it's safe on block. If your Air Super counter hits, meaning hits the opponent out of the start of their move, it has the special property of giving you full super meter. It also causes a ground bounce that lets you combo for 3 damage or combo into your Patriot Mirror ground super. Your dream scenario is if you can be in 2 Truths mode from Patriot Mirror while also having illusions out from your Consent of the Governed Air Super. The 2 ways to do that are to counter hit with the Air Super, then combo into the ground super as we just showed, or you can start off by hitting with the ground super, then Yomi counter a throw to get full super meter, then immediately Air Super. Either way, if you pull off this dream scenario, you'll be fighting alongside multiple illusionary copies of Quince that can actually hit the opponent, while still being able to spawn illusions from your other moves that can really hit the opponent too. It's ridiculous. Quince sometimes has to stay back and just place mirrors and poke with Air B cancelled into Illusion Air B while he looks for openings. When he really gets going though, he can put his opponent on tilt as they question how and what they're even supposed to block. He loves being in 2 Truths mode as much as he can because he loves honesty and truth. And why just have 1 truth when you can have 2? Grave Stormborn is a highly disciplined. Jaina Stormborn is reckless, rebellious, and a bit of a show-off. That's exactly why Master Midori taught her archery as a way to instill some patience. She wields a magical bow with an endless supply of flame arrows. Jaina is a strong zoning character, one of the best in the game at keeping opponents away. She does it by creating an obstacle course of flame arrows. Her B button shoots a flame arrow. She can do that on the ground or in the air. On the ground, she can hold down the B button to charge it up. Her level 2 shot destroys enemy projectiles and keeps on going. Her level 3 shot is unblockable. In the air, holding B doesn't charge up her shots, but it does allow her to extend her hang time, which can be helpful. Jaina's Air C shoots a different kind of flame arrow diagonally up, and then it rains down a bit later. The most important thing to know about it is that she can have as many of these shots on screen as she can get. Usually, in Fantasy Strike and most fighting games, you can't shoot a projectile while your previous projectile is still on screen. For example, Jaina can only have 1 horizontal shot on screen at any given time, whether that's her Air B or her ground B, but she can do Air C shots in addition to that. And to amp it up, her Air Super fires off 3 of these shots at once, and all of that can be in addition as well. For example, she can jump C, and then jump Air Super, and then land and shoot her horizontal B shot. That's a lot of projectiles at once, and it's also a good setup to try to land her unblockable level 3 shot while the opponent is dealing with the rain of fire. Jaina's knee, her forward A normal attack, has a lot of uses. She can travel forward quickly with it, and it's a pretty high priority attack. On hit or on block, she can cancel into an air special. This lets her combo knee into Air B for 2 hits. If you happen to hit the opponent out of the air really high up, you can actually combo into another knee and then into Air B for 3 damage. Her neutral A is a fast kick that also cancels the specials. Her jumping A is a dive kick with a very shallow angle. She can't really use it to get close to opponents, but if she's already near them, it lets her put together some pretty good rushdown. Her standard 3-hit combo is dive kick, knee, Air B. She can also dive kick neutral A, round B. Her roundhouse kick, done with back plus A, can't cancel the special moves, but it reaches pretty far. It lets her poke or sometimes punish things that she otherwise couldn't, because her roundhouse hits faster at long range than any of her other attacks. Jaina usually wants to keep opponents away and make them deal with a lot of arrow shots, but what if they manage to get close? She has 2 invulnerable moves to knock opponents off her, but they each have drawbacks. Keep in mind that even a bad reversal attack is extremely powerful on a solid keep-away character. Jaina's first reversal option is Dragonheart, which is her ground C attack. It's an invulnerable Dragon Punch style move that knocks opponents away. It has slow startup, but even more notably, it damages herself. Yes, really. You have to be very careful with this move, but if you only have 1 life left, it won't kill you, so you can go hog wild at that point. But keep in mind that Dragonheart is completely unsafe on block. Even though taking self-damage is a big drawback, it can be worth it. If the opponent is jumping in at you and you have to choose between blocking or Dragonheart, well, if you block, it lets the opponent start doing what they want to do. But if you Dragonheart, it will damage them for 1, as well as damage you for 1, and it will leave the opponent at full screen. They'll probably have to block your next flame arrow too. That way, you're doing what you want to do. Jaina's second reversal option is her ground super, Red Dragon. It doesn't cost her life to use, but it has an enormously long startup. She has to predict a move quite early to hit with Red Dragon. Jumping opponents can even block it on reaction if she does it too late. It still has its uses though, and it does 2 damage on hit. Jaina excels at filling the screen with flame arrows and forcing the opponent to figure out how to deal with it all. She can vary the timing of her obstacle course to frustrate opponents. If they stay back, they'll end up taking block damage or even get hit by her unblockable level 3 shot as her air super rains down. When things go wrong, can you afford the 1 life to Dragonheart them off you? Can you afford not to? Jaina is a bit of a paradox in that she combines patience and recklessness in her own unusual style. Argagar Garg is a water shaman and patient fish, known in his circles for his wise advice, even though outsiders wrongly view the fish folk as a savage and violent race, but they couldn't be more wrong. Argagarg is a zoner, a keep-away character. His long-range attacks and water waves keep his opponents far away, while his poison ticks away at their life. Let's start with his normal attacks. His forward A attack reaches across the entire screen, and you can cancel it to special moves. It's a great zoning tool. His back A punches are short range but very high priority. Have the courage to use this small but effective attack to hit jumping opponents and keep them off of you. His neutral A punch reaches really far, and while it doesn't have the high priority of his back A, the range makes up for it. If you counter hit a jumper, that is, hit them out of the startup of their attack, they'll fall on their back, and you can combo to forward A for 2 damage. Also keep in mind that Argagarg can cancel all 3 of his ground normal attacks into specials. Jumping A is another long-range attack, this time diagonally downward. Argagarg's flying fish moves are done with the B button. He can press B for a blue fish made of water, or hold B for a purple, poisoned version. The poison version is central to his character, so let's cover that first. The poison fish is really large for starters. It also passes through all obstacles. Enemy projectiles or other objects can't stop it. And it's unblockable. Yes, really, it's unblockable. When it hits, it poisons the opponent. They don't take any damage immediately, but they'll eventually take 2 damage from this poison unless they hit you. If they hit Argagarg while they're poisoned, they'll be cured. While they're poisoned, there's an icon of a flask that moves across their life bar. That shows how long until the poison will take away that particular hit point. Notice that if the opponent gets knocked down, or if they put Argagarg into block stun by forcing him to block a move, the flask will momentarily pause its countdown. That's minor though. The main thing to understand here is that the poison fish's unblockable, unstoppable nature forces the opponent to act. They can't just sit there and do nothing. You can also stack multiple poison fish to poison more and more of their life bar. They could be on the hook to lose 6 or 8 hit points if you can keep them away for that long. And that brings us to the drawback of this move. If they hit you within a few seconds of getting poisoned, then the poison didn't actually do anything. You have to be able to keep them away long enough for the poison to tick to harness Argagarg's full potential. Also, the poison fish has another unusual drawback. It doesn't cause any hit stun. The opponent can simply hit you while you're doing it. They can walk straight through it, get hit by it, but then hit you back, so be careful to only use it when it's safe. You get the poison fish by holding down the B button, but if you press and release the B button, you'll get the blue flying fish. This one is made of water, so it doesn't actually deal any damage at all. It does splash opponents on hit and stuns them for so long that you can usually hit them with your forward A attack for 1 damage. And even if you don't hit them with that, it's still valuable to waste their time with the blue fish if they're poisoned. Arkagarg's C special move is Rushing River. He summons a river of water that pushes opponents back. Again, this is helpful to waste their time if they're poisoned, and to keep them away from Arkagarg regardless of whether they're poisoned or not. He's better off fighting from a distance. While the river is out, you can press C again to summon an orange fish that jumps out of the river. You can hold back, neutral, or forward during that C button press to get 3 different angles of this fish. It's a real fish, not made of water, so it does actual damage. The neutral version of this is great for keeping away opponents and hitting them if they try to jump in. The back version is good at hitting jumpers who are much closer to you, and the forward version is good for applying some pressure. You can also summon these orange fish even while you're doing another move, or while you're in block stun. There's a bunch of trickery you can do with this, on both the air and the ground. Air B is his staff drill. It's a pretty good priority attack that can be used defensively if you jump back into it, or offensively if you jump forward into it. You usually can't combo after it, but you can at least try to pressure afterwards. Air C is his sparkling bubble. This lets him travel horizontally through the air, and you can hold left or right as you initiate it to travel either direction. During your travels, you can press C again to pop the bubble. The pop is invulnerable after a short startup. You can use this bubble even after doing your jumping A punch. That lets you hit the opponent and then back away to safety, or pressure them and threaten a pop if you're feeling risky. You can also combine the bubble with the ground C's orange fish. Do Rushing River, then immediately jump in Sparkling Bubble. As you travel, pressing C will summon the river's orange fish. Then you can choose to pop the bubble with another C button press if you want. For an even more powerful bubble, Arkagarg's ground super is Bubble Shield. This summons a bubble around him that you can pop by pressing S again. While the bubble is popping, Arkagarg can still move around, block, do attacks, etc. The pop even moves forward with him if you walk. Another really powerful aspect of Bubble Shield is that you can pop it even if you're in block stun. So you can block a move, and while you're stuck in block pose for a moment, you can pop the bubble to hit the opponent out of their attack. Plus, there's another powerful property of Bubble Shield. When you initiate it, the game is briefly paused. This lets you see what the opponent is doing, and it allows you to do the correct response on reaction. It's especially good to do as you get it from a knockdown when the opponent has you in a mix-up. Another property to know about: while Bubble Shield is up, your Air C Sparkling Bubble is powered up too. It travels faster, and the pop of this super bubble has a huge invulnerable hitbox. You'll fall to the ground faster after popping it too. While you're falling from this air super pop, you can do another air move before you land. Try popping the powered up bubble in the air, and then air A for a combo, or pop and then back air C to run away. That said, you'll use up your Bubble Shield this way. That can be worth it since you're building up super meter this whole time anyway. Arkagarg's Air Super, Giant Fish, is straightforward to use because it does exactly what he generally wants to do: push the opponent away and waste their time. It's especially annoying when he combines it with his ground B and C special moves to keep them away. Let's look more closely at some pressure sequences Arkagarg can do to keep the opponent busy. When you do Rushing River, you can then spit a flying fish right afterwards, then summon the river's orange fish. Follow up with forward A, flying fish again, and then repeat the sequence. Or you can open with the forward A long punch, cancel to flying fish, Rushing River, flying fish, orange fish, and then air super. You can then long punch them before and after the giant fish hits for a great combo, and then keep up the pressure afterwards. Even on block, this wastes a lot of time and lets your poison damage tick. Arkagarg is a difficult character to play, not because doing any of his moves is hard, but because there's so much he can do, and it will all fall apart unless you can zone them long enough for poison to do something. And you have to really know how to get out of trouble with brave uses of back A, Bubble Shield, or just a lot of blocking when you're getting pressured. And you have to take control of the match with maximum obnoxiousness when you're far away. Philosophically, Argagard believes in defeating opponents through patience, and if you actually have the patience to learn to play him, then you will truly understand him, as his fellow fish do.
PlayStation